cover it all, but it should be legendary. That Shedeur Sanders winning the 5th round of the NFL draft, and we're going to talk about it here. I want to thank our friends at Relief Factor for making this even possible. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally, developed by doctors. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today for just $19.95. For less than $20, you can relieve that pain, that inflammation. There's 2 ways to do it: 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800, the number 4RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com. Thank you so much, Relief Factor. Let's get into today's show. Let's just go right into it. I've come up with a name for Shedeur Sanders, the 5th round pick of the Cleveland Browns, and it's Tupac Shedeur. Tupac Shedeur, all eyes on me. Tupac Shedeur, the biggest gift we've ever been given, I believe, in the sports media space. Tupac, Dion's son here, has decided he wants to be a rapper and a quarterback, and he's decided that NFL teams, or the world has decided that any NFL team that objects to Tupac Shedeur is some sort of racist, some sort of old angry white man, some sort of evil person. And I'm going to spend today explaining to you all that we're not the problem. It's the race idolaters, it's the bigots, it's the groupies. They're the problem. And this goes way back. Tupac Shedeur, the reason I came up with that name is because Tupac Shakur was a hoax. And Tupac Shedeur is just another hoax that we're being treated to. I want to start by just walking you through or reminding you of things that we've previously explained about Tupac Shakur, the rapper, and how he was installed. He was a plant. He was there for distraction. And now we have Tupac Shedeur, another installed racial hoax, another grift, another one of these okie dokes that we're falling for. But I want to play you just a short clip of the original Tupac Shakur, and how zesty the original Tupac was before they wrote him a new script. Let's play SOT number 1.
Okay, my name is Tupac Shakur, and I attend Tamalpais High School, and I'm 17 years old. My mother it's like she actually did take me through life. You know, when I discovered some, first I rebelled against her because she was in the movement, and we never spent time together because she was always speaking and going to colleges and everything. And then after that was over, it was more time spent with me, and we were both just like, you're my mother, and she was like, you're my son, and what do we do? So then she was really close with me.
That's Tupac Shakur in high school before they gave him the script to turn him into America's Most Wanted, Thug Life Baby, before they turned him into the biggest gangster, and allegedly Tupac was this important voice. He was the rapping version of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. He was an actor. He went to acting school. He was a trained actor. They gave him a script, and he followed it until they were done with him, until he was just another useful idiot that got eliminated. No different than Colin Kaepernick, another useful idiot that ended up getting eliminated. It's how many of these hoaxes are we going to fall for? And I'm analogizing Shedeur Sanders to Tupac Shakur today and helping you see a pattern of racial hoaxes and just hoaxes that the Matrix installs over and over and over again. And so let's make some political analogies. This whole Shedeur Sanders, oh, he's the greatest football player in the history of Colorado, and we must retire his number. And for 2 years, we were treated to broadcasters from ESPN, broadcasters from Fox Sports, broadcasters all across the media spectrum. Oh, Shedeur Sanders, he's John Elway. Oh, Shedeur Sanders, he's Tom Brady. Tom Brady mentors Shedeur Sanders. Oh, he's so clutch. Oh, he's so incredible. These were lies for 2 straight years. No different than the lies told about Hillary Clinton. No different than the lies told about Joe Biden. No different than the lies told about Kamala Harris. No different than the lies told about Barack Hussein Obama. The legacy media gasses up all of these props and frauds and tells you they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. They're the savior. They're this, they're that. And occasionally, the American public calls BS. And they didn't go for the Hillary Clinton hoax. They didn't go for the Kamala Harris hoax. Many Americans didn't go for the Joe Biden hoax, including that election. And so I was sitting here telling you all, and this isn't me beating my chest and going full Mel Kiper like I'm the greatest QB evaluator of all time. But I was pretty steadfast. Hey man, this guy is Dak Prescott. What are we doing here? Why does every time I turn on a Colorado football game, I'm supposed to pretend like I'm watching Peyton Manning? Like I'm watching the second coming of Patrick Mahomes? Like I'm watching John Elway or Dan Marino or Brett Favre or any of these guys? This is a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, was what I kept saying. This is Dak Prescott, who's been hyped because of the love affair and the worship of Deion Sanders. And Deion Sanders' relationship with the NFL Network and his friendship with Stephen A. Smith and people at ESPN that all live in fear of getting crossways with Deion Sanders and getting crossways with the social media matrix. Shedeur Sanders, Tupac Shedeur, has always been a hoax. Does that mean he can't play in the NFL? No, it doesn't. Dak Prescott's having a really solid NFL career and making a lot of money. But this whole can't miss prospect and this whole, oh, it's a crime he went in the 5th round. This sounds like all the people that thought the Hillary Clinton hoax was going to work. And on election night, they all melted down. I can't believe we had this whole thing rigged up. Hillary's going to be the first female president. The future is women. Hear me roar. And the American public was like, nah, that's some BS. We don't like Hillary Clinton. We don't think there's anything special about Hillary Clinton. We'd rather have Donald Trump. And that's what happened this weekend over the NFL draft. The truth about Shedeur Sanders got told. He's not a first-round talent. He's never been a first-round talent. All the people pretending like he was a first-round talent are liars. They're bad pollsters. And now they're all doubling down and tripling down on their lies by coming up with, it's collusion, it's racism. No one likes a strong black man. What are all the excuses that they came up with after Hillary Clinton got rejected by the American people? It's sexism. Russia installed installed Donald Trump. The media never acknowledges its lies and its disconnect from reality. This thing with Shedeur Sanders has been one of the most obvious things in the history of the planet. Deion Sanders screwed this up, and no one had the balls to say it. We went through 3 days of draft coverage on ESPN and on the NFL Network, and no one was willing to say, hey man, Deion Sanders has made a fool of himself, a fool of his son, and put his son in a horrible position. Because we all have to go along with the hoax that Deion Sanders is one of the greatest daddies in the history of the planet. Aflac had a commercial on during the draft talking about Deion Sanders, I've done everything for my family. That's what everything I've done has been about my family. Deion Sanders, from start to finish, since the age of about 15, everything Deion Sanders has done his entire life has been about Deion Sanders. That's not racism, that's not jealousy, that's not hatred, that's a fact. And he put his son in a horrible position. Here's an experienced NFL Hall of Famer that gave his son horrendous advice, allowed his son to walk around like an entitled, spoiled brat throughout the entire draft process. Let his son build a draft room at his home. Let his son walk around and pretend to be a rapper throughout his college playing career and on draft night, day 1, 2, and 3. Deion Sanders screwed this up royally, and no one wants to talk about it. And I'll be vilified and cursed for pointing it out, that Deion screwed this up. I'm not done with Deion because I'm going to circle back to it. But this whole thing it's just been another hoax. How many times are you going to be lied to and believe it? Mark Jones, and I can't remember the guy that was his partner, I'm talking about the ESPN broadcaster, they do all these Colorado games. Everybody did these Colorado games. And went along with the hoax that Shedeur Sanders was the greatest thing we'd ever seen at the quarterback position. They lied to you for 2 years, and now the truth comes in and they melt down. The NFL looks at this dude and said, we've seen some guys with big egos, but those guys with big egos have big monster talent. This guy doesn't have it. This, all eyes on me. How you like them apples, Shedeur? And I know, Whitlock, you're a Christian. Why are you rubbing it in Shedeur's face? I'm not going to apologize. Let me be clear. I'm not going to apologize for watching someone this arrogant who runs around pretending like he's serving God. All the tweets this weekend about God has got me, and this is just another opportunity, thank God, blah, blah, while leaning into all of this radical materialism, while flaunting his wealth in everyone's face, while proving that money is his God. And you think I'm going to apologize for celebrating, for taking satisfaction in seeing this person get humbled? You watching the wrong show, you got the wrong person. Shedeur Sanders had this coming. It's a great thing that he got exposed. It's a great thing that he got humbled and embarrassed. Because perhaps there's a lesson in it for him, and there's certainly, if he's not wise enough to take the lesson from it, you should be. Quit falling for the hoaxes. They're obvious. If the mainstream media is telling you it's raining, it's probably bright and sunny outside. This is all they do is lie and serve some idol that they become a groupie for. And then no one admits it. They turn around and point the finger. Oh, this is racism. Of course Shedeur is a great player. It couldn't be that we were wrong. It couldn't be that we were lying. It's the evil white man and the NFL. They hate black people. That's why the NFL has made more black male millionaires than any other industry in the history of America. But they're racist. How many hoaxes are you going to fall for? Tupac Shedeur, a hoax. I got more. I'm gonna just go through these one at a time. I got more. Before I do that, I want to talk to you guys that are homeowners. You guys need to listen to me. When's the last time you checked on your home title? That's the legal proof that you own your home. If you're like me, you almost never do it. The problem is, in today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use a fake notary stamp, pay a small fee with your county, and boom, your home title has been transferred out of your name into theirs. They take out loans using your equity or even sell your property. You won't even know it's happened until you get a collection or foreclosure notice. That's why you need to stop what you're doing right now and find out today if you're already a victim. Use promo code FEARLESS at HometitleLock.com to make sure your title is still in your name. You'll also get a free title history report plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud should happen, they'll spend up to $1 million correcting it. Go to HometitleLock.com right now. Use the promo code FEARLESS. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code FEARLESS. So, I'm calling Tupac Shedeur a hoax. I'm putting it under the umbrella is that there is no bigger hoax than racism. Oh, I know I just triggered a bunch of you. But racism is the biggest hoax. And that's why there have been so many tears being cried over the weekend because this racism hoax must continue. And if you haven't noticed, we're going to lean into some Tupac analogies. Those of you that know Tupac's music, so many tears, I've lost so many peers, shed so many tears. We're going to lean into some Tupac analogies. And there were tears all over the social media landscape over the weekend because Shedeur Sanders didn't get drafted until the 5th round. He was pick 144. This is racism. I'm going to start with this clown, Gillie the Kid. Gillie is some sort of social media influencer, part-time rapper. He was at Shedeur's house over the weekend for the draft party. He's friends with Deion Sanders of some sort. This is the kind of idiot that Deion is exposing himself to and his child to. And Gillie posted a clip over social media that, just crying big tears. This is just a reminder. Shedeur not getting drafted is just a reminder that we're all N-words. Play the clip.
To all my folks out there, right? I just want y'all to know that when you're a black man in America, right, sometimes you get reminders. You know what I mean? as a successful black man in America, I often get reminders. And in the Shedeur Sanders situation, this is just a reminder that you can do everything right in life. You can come from a good family, you could be a good student, you could be a God-fearing kid, you could be a hard worker, you could beat the odds. Your dad could be a Hall of Fame player and you can beat the odds because not too many Hall of Fame players have good kids. So you can beat the odds. You can beat, he ain't his daddy. You can beat all of that growing up. But you still get a reminder that you just a man. That's it. You just a We sitting here looking at a public execution going on right in front of our eyes. Where it's like, we just got to remind you that you just a
We can cut it right there. That's Gilly the Kid. This is the kind of idiot that Deion Sanders has invited into his locker room, into his child's life, into his own life, all to confirm you're just a victim. Shedeur was the perfect kid. He's done everything right. And oh my goodness, he's a 5th-round NFL draft pick. This is just a reminder. Never mind that Cam Ward was at the top of the draft, a black quarterback. Never mind that 16 of the 32 quarterbacks in the NFL that are scheduled to start next year, they're black. Never mind that, what's the stat? 7 of the 11 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, I think this is since 2023, black. Never mind that there was some incredible number, like maybe 54 of the 69 guys, first 69 guys or something drafted, black. Never mind that the Las Vegas Raiders, who everyone thought was going to draft Shedeur Sanders, they got a black quarterback in Geno Smith. Tom Brady allegedly is Shedeur's mentor. He owns part of the Raiders. They want nothing to do with him. They had multiple opportunities to draft Shedeur. It all must be racism. This league is just rampant with racism. You can't satisfy these idiots. There's nothing you can do to satisfy these idiots. They're going to cry their tears. And I'm going to explain to you why here in a second. Don't go, because I'm really going to trigger some of you. But I want to play Ocho Cinco, NFL player. Cincinnati Bengals put up with all of his antics and histrionics. They gave Ocho Cinco a script to read, and he read it. These are useful idiots. When you listen to Ocho Cinco, when I play you this clip, you're going to have a hard time convincing me that someone didn't write this script for him. I've seen this dude on Nightcap. I've followed his entire career. They gave this man a script to read. Stir this racism pot. Go out there and cry these tears. Go out there and make Shedeur Sanders a victim. Play the clip.
What we are witnessing once again is the machinery of a system that has never quite known what to do with a free black man, much less than a free black family. The NFL, with all its pageantry and power, finds itself uncomfortable, even threatened, when the likes of the Sanders family walk into a room, not asking for a seat at the table, but daring to bring their own. Deion Shedeur, this family has refused to shrink to fit the confines laid out for them. And so the machine does what it has always done. It seeks to diminish, to distort, to remind them and us that there is still a place for black folk. It is not at the head of the table. But the tragedy, you see, is not in their refusals to bow, but is in the nation's fear of black excellence unchained. The fear that has always been the real danger, not the power of our stride, but the shadow we cast when we stand upright, unafraid, and unapologetically.
He's got to be reading someone else's words, and maybe someone wrote this. Maybe Bill wrote, and someone over at Landscape or Anscape wrote this, and he's just reading it. These are clowns. Everything is racism, racism, racism. Anything that happens to black people, it's always racism. If a 17-year-old black child stabs a white child over a seat under a tent, well, it's racism. That's why the black kid stabbed the white kid. It's racism. He had no choice. This level of idiocy, you can't make peace with this level of idiocy. You can't argue with this level of idiocy. You can't argue with people who reject God, and because that's what this is. This is a rejection of God. Because anybody that believes that Jesus Christ is their Lord and Savior rejects victimhood. And so all the people that are running around, oh, I'm a victim, it's racism, it's racism, it's racism. What they're saying is, I don't believe in God. Not really. I believe in the white man. That is my God, and he determines my outcome. And many of you will hear this and think it's just a talking point. It's not a talking point. It's reality. You have rejected God and replaced it with some magical white man who you blame for everything. This level of idiocy, this demonic cult, you cannot make peace with it. There's a mass psychosis that black people are under, where they don't believe they have any power, authority. It doesn't matter what you do to satisfy them. It doesn't matter how fair you make the world. It doesn't matter how unfair you make the world. You know what? You don't have to score as high on the SAT as everybody else to get into college. Now you've tilted the scales in their direction. They still blame racism. Half the NFL, black people are 12, 13% of America. 50% of the quarterbacks in the NFL that'll be starting this year are black. It's still racism. How many tears must we suffer? Here's Luther Campbell, the rapper. Again, just another one of these bought and paid for influencers that are there to cry, to shed tears, to play the race card over and over and over again. This was one of the most, and there was a lot of incredible tweets about and posts about Shedeur Sanders, Tupac Shedeur over social media. This one took the cake for me. I hope everyone of you who criticized LeBron James for how he handled his son's path to the NBA is paying attention now. Where are you? Bronny has proven he can play. Shedeur Sanders can play. Strong black men who don't follow their rules know their kids will get attacked and denied opportunities unless they handle things differently. Every one of you owes LeBron James an apology because now you're seeing firsthand how they're treating Deion's son. This is a level of retardation that can't be negotiated with. And obviously, Luke, who I've been friendly with in the past, who's run a football program down in Florida that I've been supportive of, but clearly he's an op and has been an op. He was brought to the forefront in the rap music industry to spread degeneracy, sexual degeneracy. He's done that. Now they've moved him into a different lane where he has to beat the racism drum. Guy made millions of dollars talking on a microphone, saying pornographic, perverted things on a microphone while someone played a beat behind him. Made millions of dollars for very little talent other than screaming pornographic lyrics. But this world is racist, and strong black men have no chance in this society. And Bronny James has proven he can play, and this is how you got to handle your son. It's incredible. This level of idiocy. And at some point, we're going to have to acknowledge that black people have moved to a point of the only thing we have to offer in terms of qualifications is that we're victims of racism. We're not going to show you our SAT scores. We're not going to show you our GPA. We're not going to show you our experience in other endeavors. We're not going to use any of the traditional means of proving our qualifications. We're going to demand opportunities based on your racist, now give me something. This is our collective value. You're racist, give me something. This kind of insanity must be spoken against. Oh, you can't judge me on an SAT score. You rigged that test up so I would fail it. Oh, you can't judge me on GPA. Your whole school system. 2 + 2 is 4, but you've come up with a math system where for black people, 2 + 2 is 3 or 5 or 6. It's a trick question that we couldn't answer. Math is racist. Oh, you can't do proper grammar. English is racist. That's not how we talk. Oh, sure, an idiot like Jason Whitlock can learn how to write, can learn how to speak proper English, but he's a sellout. The rest of us, we're not sellouts. Learning how to speak and write in proper English, proper grammar, that's assimilation. You can't expect us to assimilate. Only sellouts and Uncle Toms like Jason Whitlock would do that. He's not really black. You can't expect us to do what you do. Don't you realize we're completely different? This is what they're arguing. And so they come in and demand a job. Hey, prove to everybody you're not racist, hire me. Check your little affirmative action box, hire me. That's why everybody runs out and screams racism. It's the value we're offering to the world. You get the chance to prove you're not racist. And then we'll give you additional opportunities to prove you're not racist because you have to jump on board with every lie that we tell. And so if a 17-year-old boy stabs a 17-year-old white kid in the heart and kills him, you now are presented with the opportunity to prove you're not racist by jumping on board with the defense. Well, this was self-defense. The white boy bullied him by telling him to leave. Oh, George Floyd resisted police arrest, took enough fentanyl to kill Secretariat and Seabiscuit. You have an opportunity to prove you're not racist by blaming Derek Chauvin. Yes, George Floyd was a career criminal. Yes, he disobeyed cops for 30 straight minutes. Yes. He was involved with armed robbery of a black woman. Yes. He overdosed on fentanyl. But Derek Chauvin, he killed him. And anybody that doesn't argue that is racist. All these they were all had dinner and blind dates scheduled with George Floyd. If Derek Chauvin hadn't killed him, all these people, Halle Berry, Tamron Hall, Chrissy Teigen, they were all going out on blind dates. They were all lined up to have sex with George Floyd. A lot of these black dudes, they were lined up to be violated by George Floyd. They couldn't wait. He was their best friend. You have to go along with the insanity. And this Shedeur Sanders deal is just a continuation of the insanity that America has been dealing with now for 20, 30 straight years. When does it stop? Ever? Let me continue to unpack this because I want to get into ESPN's role in all of this and what we witnessed and what we were put through this weekend as it relates to Tupac Shedeur. But before I do that, I want to talk to you guys about one of our newest sponsors, Blue Chew. Enhance your sexual experiences with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And starting now, Blue Chew is offering a combo so strong, it'll knock your wife's socks off. You'll have moves downtown that will make your wife really pleased with you. I know this sounds crazy coming from our show, but it's really not. Sex is at the heart of a sound relationship, a sound marriage. And just like women have makeup that they can go into, they can use to look better, men, you married men out there, we got Blue Chew out here that will make you perform better. Blue Chew combines the active ingredients of Viagra and Cialis into one chewable. This combo acts fast and lasts. We can all relate to wanting to feel more confident in the bedroom. Blue Chew can make that a lot easier. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use the promo code FEARLESS. Just pay $5 shipping. That's promo code FEARLESS. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's episode. You married guys, I'm trying to hook you up. I'm trying to help you out. Blue Chew, the cheat code for you married guys. Please your wife. All right, let me keep this moving because I want to talk about the ESPN angle. And I think, do we have, Mel Kiper and what we saw from ESPN over this weekend, over this 3-day deal. Mel Kiper, Stephen A. Smith with his collusion deal, Ryan Clark warming us up on the first with his race baiting and all of that. All of this is very troublesome. Troublesome, you know, if you follow Tupac, you get the analogy. But I want to start with Mel Kiper and some of his whining. And it ended, this is the kind of ended Mel's whining where he went on this rant about how clueless the NFL has been about the quarterback position. Let's play shot number 5.
Boomer Esiason was not happy when he was a second-round pick.
Tom
Brady
was not
happy. They dropped. How'd they turn out?
And you know what?
My point
nobody's arguing that
my
that
point
can happen.
Is, the NFL has been clueless for 50 years when it comes to evaluating quarterback. Clueless. They have no idea what they're doing in terms of evaluating quarterback. That's proof. There's proof of that.
How many
they say we know exactly what we're talking about with quarterback? They don't. Quarterbacks now, and Reese, you know it well as anybody, college kids now are getting paid. They're professional. They're getting paid. They're commercials. They're out there. You got to deal with that. If you're the NFL, you got to deal with that. Okay? He's saying whatever he's saying behind closed doors. What's he saying? I want to be the guy. I should be this. I should be that. Deion saying he's the best player in the draft. He's best quarterback. Second best to Travis Hunter. Best quarterback. Who is it? What quarterback out there didn't think they should have been a high first-round pick?
Again, nobody's criticizing what happened. We're saying he has to deal with the reality of the result from it.
Correct.
That's all.
Pick
Okay,
144.
Shedeur Sanders, everybody wishes him well, as we do.
I want to play one more Mel Kiper deal where he calls this, what happened to Shedeur, disgusting. Let's play shot number 6.
For Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders, all I can say is I think it's disgusting. I don't understand what the heck's going on with this. 5th player on my board. It's never happened before in 47 years where a player that high has dropped this far into the 4th round at quarterback. It's sitting there in round 4 of other quarterbacks being taken who aren't as good as Shedeur, aren't even close, in my opinion, in terms of accuracy, toughness. Arm strength is certainly more than good enough. I don't see Kirk Cousins went, 4th round Dak Prescott went, worked out pretty good for them. It's just that Shedeur was projected a lot higher than they were. That's why we're having this discussion.
Projected a lot higher by Mel Kiper and a few others that were all participating in this Deion Sanders-inspired lie and manipulation. But Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott that went in the 4th round, those are great analogies for Shedeur. He's got, I'm not sure if he's got Dak Prescott's athleticism, but it's probably right in between Dak and Kirk Cousins in terms of athleticism. And then arm strength is right in between Dak and Kirk Cousins. Those are great analogies. So Shedeur is a 4th, 5th round pick. Time you throw in the baggage and the circus of Shedeur Sanders and how toxic all of these race baiters, all these so many tears guys, all these troublesome people on ESPN. He's not worth the headache. He's a 4th round talent with 1st round headaches. Deion Sanders was a headache, but he had incredible talent. And he played a different position. But what happened to Shedeur is like before he even got into the league, he was Colin Kaepernick and he was Tim Tebow, someone with a traveling circus. And people didn't want to be involved in that. And how ESPN refuses to discuss that aspect of it is mind-blowing. This is the problem with the mainstream media. They always lie. They always avoid the hard truths. This is so obvious what happened to Shedeur. And the worldwide leader in sports, just think about that, ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, with no one willing to effectively and appropriately and aggressively stand up to Mel Kiper and tell the truth. And I know Reese Davis did a nice job doing the best that he could. But if you're going to let Mel Kiper on your airwaves to shill for Deion Sanders and Shedeur in this way, they needed someone on the air that was be like, hey, Mel, the NFL, they've been screwing up quarterback drafts for 50 years? Mel, you're the guy that compared Jamarcus Russell to John Elway. Mel, you're the guy that said you would retire if Jimmy Clausen wasn't an NFL star within 8 years. You're the guy that was super high on Achilles Smith. You're the guy that had 4 other quarterbacks ranked ahead of Patrick Mahomes. It seems like everybody, including Mel Kiper, have been screwing up quarterback evaluations forever. But they let Mel make a fool of themselves and all of ESPN for 3 straight days. How? Why? Does Mel Kiper have compromising photos on everybody at ESPN? Not one they don't have an executive? I mean, Mel, I'm saying this not out of cancel culture. I'm not saying this out of cancel culture. But a smart, wise executive at ESPN would have pulled Mel Kiper off air this weekend for making a joke of ESPN's draft coverage. Because it started round 1. Cam Ward drafted, and they said on air talking about Shedeur Sanders. There's more conversation about the black quarterback that went in the 5th round than the black quarterback that went 1st overall. Because ESPN has been lying about Shedeur for 2 years. They were unable, unwilling, refused to pivot off the lies that they told. This has been going on in the media space for years and years and years. And everything, this whole race bait, racial division deal, it's all been coming from the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN. And instead of acknowledging, like, you're completely out of line with sports. Sports bring us together. ESPN is using sports to tear us apart. No one over at ESPN, Jimmy Pitaro, Dave Roberts, I don't know, Burke Magnus, if he's still there, none of these people have the courage to say, hey, enough is enough. We are part of the racial division apparatus in America. This is immoral what ESPN is doing. They're taking something like sports that we've used for decades to bring us together, to advance racial harmony, and now they're using it the exact opposite way. And they have black people and Mel Kiper, who I believe is Jewish, leading the bandwagon of tearing the races apart. No one can say anything. No one can stand up to this. I just want to repeat, because I'm about to play you some Stephen A. Smith clips, but I've told you on this show, the Young Men's Christian Association, the YMCA, in the late 1800s, they organized sports. They wanted a masculine Christianity. And so they organized sports. Organized sports, founded by Christians. The CYO, the Catholic Youth Organization, in the early 1900s, they were the leaders in using sports to bring the races together. There would be no Jackie Robinson without the CYO. I've walked you through this history. To watch people completely tear out the Christian biblical founding in sports mirrors the exact same process that we're going through in terms of trying to remove the biblical founding out of the Constitution. You can see everything that's going on in American culture through the lens of sports. They mirror each other. There are groups trying to tear us apart through sports, through racial division. It's not Christian. And it's not Christians. And I don't care how often Ryan Clark and Stephen A. Smith pretend like they're Christians. They're not. Or they don't understand Christianity. They're using racial division to promote themselves. I want to play Stephen A. Smith talking about collusion. I mean, they're just letting these idiots run wild. Yeah, let's play, shot number 4, Stephen A. Smith, on how this is all what happened to Shedeur. It's collusion. Play the clip.
Clearly, it's not about talent anymore. It's about something else. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion. Because how in the hell does 32 teams in the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams passed on him, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times they passed on him? How the hell does that happen? 4 rounds. It doesn't happen to a quarterback. We've never seen anything like this before. We've seen guys drop because of injuries. We've seen guys drop because of off-field issues, but we've never seen a quarterback projected to be a top 20 pick, universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, projected to be a first rounder, in all likelihood a safe bet of a late first rounder, and drop literally to the 5th round. We haven't seen anything like that. And when you're talking about the owners, I'm going to keep in mind, and I tweeted about this, seems very Kaepernick-like, as in Colin Kaepernick.
We've never seen this. What we haven't seen is 2 straight years of propaganda hyping up a quarterback who's a 3rd or 4th round pick and pretending like he's John Elway or Patrick Mahomes. We haven't seen this, Peyton Manning. This guy was Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins, and the media hyped him up and his daddy up into believing that he was Eli Manning or Peyton Manning, and he could dictate what everybody was going to do in the draft, and then he made a fool of himself during the draft process. We've never seen that. And then we've never seen the kind of circus that's been built around a quarterback the way we have Shedeur Sanders. Anybody that has a criticism of Shedeur, well, that's racism. Who wants that circus? What coach wants to draft someone in the 1st or 2nd round who will be very hard to demote, who will bring a cancer into the locker room of entitlement and a bandwagon of social media and legacy media supporters who will scrutinize and second guess everything that coach or franchise does with that quarterback? Nobody wants that. This isn't collusion. This is common sense. Y'all made Shedeur Sanders toxic, and now you want to point the finger and say it's collusion, it's racism, it's this, it's that. And this started before the draft. I want to remind you all of Ryan Clark and his take about when the criticism finally started coming out and the truth started coming out about Shedeur Sanders and his attitude, which was obvious. Anybody that watched this dude play for 2 years at Colorado was like, man, this guy's got a bad attitude. Clear as day. Only been coached by his dad. He's got a bad attitude. But here's Ryan Clark, subtly, not so subtly, calling that pre-draft criticism of Shedeur Sanders, well, that's racist. Of course it is. Everything that happens bad to black people, it has nothing to do with the behavior of black people. It's always racism. Play SOT number 3.
My biggest problem with it is obviously the anonymity of all of the comments and all of the quotes and all of the things that we have had reported, whether it was Josina Anderson around the combine, recently with this quote from an offensive coach who says he's entitled, who says he puts the blame. I watched Shedeur Sanders get damn near killed for 2 years at Colorado, and I never saw him berate a lineman on the sideline. I never saw him cuss or scream at a coach. And you're hearing these things like entitled and these little pieces of the characteristics of his personality when we had a #1 overall draft pick get arrested for being orderly and drunk. And we had more people coming out and saying, okay, here is who the real Baker Mayfield is. Don't watch this video. Don't believe that what you saw of him is who he is. He's a good person. He's a good leader. He's this. We had more anonymous people saying those things. Shedeur Sanders never been arrested. Shedeur Sanders has never been in trouble. Shedeur Sanders has never misused his names to the point of taking advantage of people. You have Johnny Manziel, who missed the first game of his last year against Rice for Texas A&M because he was suspended. You have Johnny Manziel, who ended up getting a whole documentary about how effed up he was away from the field, but there was no anonymous talk about him. There was no one coming out and saying Johnny Manziel isn't a good person. Johnny Manziel is entitled. Johnny Manziel has an alcohol issue. And so to me, the way that Shedeur Sanders has been covered seems purposeful. It seems that there is some sort of intent to slander or defame. All of these conversations could be taking place behind closed doors, as they do for so many of these people, and kept there. But why him?
Ryan Clark is pretending like, or was pretending like, Colin Cowherd and others didn't shred Baker Mayfield before the draft and the early part of his NFL career. There were a lot of people, I'll raise my hand, uncomfortable with how Baker Mayfield conducted himself while a college football player. There were a lot of people questioning whether Baker Mayfield should be the #1 overall pick. A lot of people. The Browns are making a mistake. Baker Mayfield got shredded. I want to see if we can dig up Merrill Hodge before I move on. Merrill Hodge shredding Johnny Manziel on an ESPN platform. And this is the difference between black former football players and white former football players. Merrill Hodge, Johnny Manziel's white. Merrill Hodge, no problem, shredding Johnny Manziel. Not sitting around, oh, I got to be race loyal. I got to cape up for Johnny Manziel. Colin Cowherd, white. Hey, I'm going to shred Baker Mayfield, no problem. But these black athletes and their racial idolatry and their rejection of a biblical identity, they've taken on the race identity that's nowhere in a Bible, nowhere in a Bible. They've taken it on, and that's what they live for. They're part of a demonic cult, the race cult. And so anything that happens to black people, they've been programmed, trained, brainwashed into, well, it's racism. And this never happened to white people. No one anonymously ripped Baker Mayfield and Johnny Manziel. You know why? Because white and black people put their name on the criticism of Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield. No one had to do it in hiding, because you can rip Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield by name without being called racist. And so Baker Mayfield had to go through the proper process of getting shredded for a bad attitude, failing in Cleveland, and then rebuilding himself, remaking himself into a quarterback that's a starting quarterback and one of the top 12, 15 quarterbacks in the NFL, and seen as the franchise quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Baker Mayfield had to get real in his relationship with God. And he's talked about that. And he's rebuilt himself. But we're not going to let Shedeur Sanders go through that process, because we're going to write off any criticism of Tupac Shedeur. Well, that's just racist. And clowns like Ryan Clark are going to call people out and call them racist and make it impossible for Shedeur Sanders to have to deal with the reality that he made a fool of himself. He hasn't carried himself in a responsible fashion that's demonstrated or shown him to be a leader. But I want you to listen to the buffoonery of what Ryan Clark just said about, oh, God, no one anonymously criticized Johnny Manziel. Didn't have to. I'm going to play you 3 minutes of Merrill Hodge on camera, using his real name, shredding Johnny Manziel. Play the clip.
First, you look at two things, you know. Is he a good decision maker? And even with that, there's layers in it. Is he a quick decision maker or just a good one? Okay? So there's different degrees in that. I think he's a horrendous decision maker. Is he accurate? All levels of there. Is he completing passes or does he throw it where a guy can run after the catch? Does he play within the structure of the offense? Does he understand pass protection and blitzes and where he must go with the football? Can he throw it into voids and throw with anticipation? All of these things I've just described, scale from 1 to 10, he would be a 0 to a 1 on all those categories. I find him to be reckless as a player, and that is very disturbing when you transition to the National Football League. When you're running around and you have no business running, the ball should have come out, you're okay. You win Heisman trophies in college for doing that. In the National Football League, you do that, you're going to come back to the huddle. And I got 5 grown men blocking for me. And you're making me look, I'm giving up sacks. I'm not going to like that, son. The next time you do that, they're not going to bust you in half. I'll bust you in half. And then when I got a dig route wide open and you don't throw it to me, the wide receiver's not going to come back and go, hey, that's all right, kid, next time. Throw the ball to me. You get it, or I'll bust you in half. So forget about what the defense is going to do to you. You cannot play with poor structure like that and survive and win any respect with your team. Now, I have not seen a game where he shows any sign of those qualities being able to transition to the National Football League. We talked about expectations. His skill set will never withstand the enormous pressure that's going to be required from people who are talking the first pick overall or a top 10 to build a franchise, a team around with his poor skill set. It will crumble, it will crush him, just the expectations based on the poor skill set he has.
So you are going bust.
If he's a first round, shoot, even like really a top 3 rounds. He's a 5th or 6th round grade. If you have a compensatory pick, grab him there. But not in the first round.
I'm sorry, I got a question. Are you saying that Johnny Manziel may not even be worth a pick in the first 3 rounds?
Oh, I wouldn't. The project is so massive. There are so many major flaws.
So what are your thoughts about people who believe he should be the first overall pick in the draft?
Listen, you know, obviously it's not a perfect science, but I think people who will take him in the first round,
I'm saying first overall.
If you took it first overall, I would think that staff would be gone in 2 years, and whoever made that pick would be gone in 2 years. You don't make that pick based on the other players that are available to you. You make that pick, we got to question your evaluating players and their transition and their ability to transition to the National Football League very highly.
You're not going to like what I'm about to say. And I'm not going to apologize for it. What Ryan Clark, Stephen A. Smith, Mel Kiper, many of these people, and I like Louis Riddick, but he tiptoed all around this weekend, didn't want to, really address this head on. But what they're really doing and saying with their actions is white boys get treated like men. Black boys get treated like babies. Babies get coddled. Babies get handled delicately. And so Shedeur Sanders at 21, 22, 23 years old, treat him like a baby, coddle him. He can't handle the truth. Whereas white boys, people are like, hey, you're joining the NFL, you're a man now, and we're going to treat you like a man. And we're going to talk to you and talk about you like you're a grown man. These guys want young black men treated as babies. Coddle them. Don't tell them the truth. They can't handle the truth. Don't you understand? This is just a little black baby. He doesn't know his daddy. His mama took him to the beauty salon and got his hair braided every weekend. This is a child. This is a baby. Coddle him. We're going to treat white boys like young men. And we're going to welcome them into the fraternity of men. And in the fraternity of men, there's a coarseness that we must treat each other with for iron to sharpen iron. But these black boys, they're babies. They're fragile. They wear big gold chains because they're so insecure that any room that they walk into, they must let everybody know, look at how much money I got. Whereas men walk into a room, properly programmed men walk into a room, and they want to say, look at how much God I got. We're not letting black men develop into men. We're keeping them coddled with excuses. It's all a big lie, a big hoax that's been pulled off for 2 straight years. Mel Kiper, Rachel Maddow of the Shedeur hoax. Everything ESPN's doing, troublesome, racially divisive. I'm gonna keep it moving. I wanna play you Steven Jackson, because this was another excuse that got run out there as it relates to Tupac Shedeur. This is and this is part of an overall narrative, you know, that this thug image and thug passion. Steven Jackson got that thug passion. And he went out and made the argument that, oh boy, yeah, you know, the problem with Shedeur is he's just too confident. And the white man just can't handle a black man that's confident. Let's play the Steven Jackson clip.
What up, world? That's another situation. They hate to see confident. When you black and you confident, you know where you come from, you know who you are, you know what you can do, and you don't need nobody to pat you on the back to give you the confidence. They hate it. They hate it. Even our own people. Our own people be ready to kick us when we down. Shannon going through a little something, and I don't know what's going on, but look how many of y'all happy to see Shannon go through something. I'm praying for all my brothers out here, man, because we all got a wave to catch. It's enough for all of us out here, but it's not surprising to see how many of us can't wait to see one of us go through something. And every man has a wave to catch. It's enough for all of us out here, bro. Every last one of us. Don't try to kick somebody when they're going through something, man. Every man has a wave to catch. You just got to wait on God. Facts.
Are you looking at the representation, allegedly, of God? Weed smoking, idiot. Just analogize Shedeur Sanders to Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe is dealing with accusations that he has a propensity to strangle young white women. And this is the hill that Steven Jackson wants to die on and compare Shedeur Sanders to. Too confident. Let's think this through. And this is when I think about ESPN and where all this corporate media has gone and all the buffoonery, illogic that they promote 24/7 on a loop. Hey, let's make Steven Jackson an important spokesperson for black people. And he's now going to go out with his thug passion and weed smoking and idiocy and convince everybody that, or tell young black men, oh, God, oh, the white man just hates it when you're too confident. Let's think this through. That NFL owners, NFL executives, oh, when they see a confident black man, they just melt. Was Deion Sanders allegedly not confident? Did Deion Sanders allegedly, did he struggle with his confidence? And I believe Deion was taken 4th or 5th in the NFL draft when he came out. Who allegedly had more confidence than Deion Sanders? But he's able to go at the top of the draft, and 30, 40 years later, there's a racist plot against his son because his son is too confident. You're telling me that all of these black athletes in the NFL that have been taken at the very top of the draft, they were all docile and lacked confidence and were insecure. And Shedeur Sanders, he just breaks the mold. He's the first one we've seen with any confidence, and the NFL just had to reject him. Or maybe people that aren't high on weed 24/7, who actually had a daddy mentor them and develop them into young men, perhaps they're smart enough to know that Shedeur Sanders is not overconfident. He's incredibly insecure. Why would a kid born into all that wealth, fame, celebrity, and privilege of being Deion Sanders' child, why would that child need to decorate himself in diamond custom chains? Can y'all pull up the, now I'm gonna wait on that. But why would that kid need to compensate with a bunch of jewelry and throwing his wealth in everyone's face? That's a sign of insecurity. And maybe that's what people didn't like. It's like, this dude ain't got nothing swinging between his legs. He has no confidence. I'm gonna go all the way back to my analogy of Tupac Shakur. When you see these guys tatting themselves all up, when you see these guys putting all this jewelry on, this costume that they're putting on, no one wants to tell you this, but people, real men are laughing at you. You have no confidence. That's why you must decorate yourself. It's no different. I'm just going to keep it real so that you don't think I'm letting myself off the hook. If someone did a podcast or did some show right now and said, hey, man, Whitlock has some sort of identity issue, that's why he's allowed himself to be overweight for all these years. You wouldn't see me, oh, that's racist. You wouldn't see me whining and crying somewhere. I would say, guy's probably right. I have an unaddressed issue. But I'm not a coward. I knew my father. I know my father above. I don't lack confidence. I lack discipline. And at some point, obviously, I had a confidence problem that caused the gluttony. But I wouldn't run from that criticism because I'm a man. And I have to answer to my father above. And I had to answer to my father here on earth. Shedeur Sanders has a confidence problem, and it's so obvious to anybody with a brain. He has a confidence problem. He is insecure. That's what makes him a poor leader. That's why he wants to be a rapper and not a football player. You know how low the bar is to be a rapper? You know how little talent you have to be a rapper? You know what the entry level for being a big-time rapper? Letting some music industry executive violate you from behind. And then they'll put some producer to put some beats around you, and then they'll push out your music and tell everybody how great you are. It takes no skill. All you need is sexual fluidity, and you can be a rapper. The challenge of being an NFL quarterback, that takes some skill. Now, trust me, they're trying to remove a lot of the resistance. They've made playing the quarterback position a lot easier. But being a rapper, throwing on some gold chains and some tattoos, and letting some executive violate you, any clown can do that. I know y'all think I'm just keeping it real with you, and I'm sorry if it's too much truth for you, but this is the reality. I want to keep it moving. I need to address the Deion Sanders part of this, and all of this, everything we're talking about today. Deion Sanders failed as a father. Deion Sanders is Suge Knight and Shedeur riding shotgun with Deion. Picture me rolling. And Suge and that whole mentality that Suge, when he bought Tupac out of jail and brought him into Death Row Records and that whole gang culture out in LA, that's what got Tupac killed. Deion Sanders walking his son into that idolatry of money. That's what cost Shedeur in this draft. This guy does not really care about being a great quarterback. This guy cares about being rich and famous. He got that naturally from his father. Deion, Deion wanted to be a rapper. Must be the money. Go look it up. For those of you that are not old enough to remember Deion in his heyday and him trying to be a part-time rapper and him rapping about money, 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 money. These people worship money. They don't worship God. That's why I've been critical. Because they're trying to convince you you can worship money and worship God at the same time. You cannot. Cannot. Will not happen. Incompatible. This all the draft process that no one wants to talk about, that somehow we were supposed to believe. Could we I had a picture on my Twitter feed of Shedeur at his post-draft party, flashing, that picture. Let's leave that up for a minute. Deion claims a Christian walk and Christian faith. If this were my son, and this is how he chose to celebrate his entry into the NFL draft, with some sort of party where he's opening up a briefcase or whatever that is full of cash, he's wearing this big diamond gold chain, that's some Louis Vuitton bag that Biggie Smalls or whoever the hell that is, come from the grave, is holding up this Louis Vuitton bag. This is how this man celebrated going into the draft. And you're wondering why NFL teams were afraid of this dude? I was like, nah, I'm good. This is not what you want your quarterback to look like. This is not how you want your quarterback celebrating entry into the draft. And I know that Steven Jackson and everybody else is like, yeah, he's just being his authentic self. And y'all afraid of that. Y'all afraid of us being our authentic selves. If that's who we are, what he said, he's a demon that worships money. And you're surprised? People are like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to bring that into my locker room, particularly not at the quarterback position. This dude played wide receiver, and we can just isolate him out here, and there's no leadership expectations put on him. Yeah, we'll deal with that. You want to be Odell Beckham Jr.? You want to be Michael Irvin? You want to be any of these wide receivers? We're good with that. But you want to be a quarterback in the NFL? No, we're not good with that. And that's not because they're racist. It's like, hey, this is an investment. This is black Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel used to do the money sign, money, money, money. He came from a rich family, just like Shedeur. And everybody, I'm just telling you, everybody with a brain, why would Deion let his son present himself this way, given all that we know about the rap industry? Diddy's in prison right now. The rap industry, it's gay. And Deion Sanders like, yeah, I want that to be my brand. I want to be a rapper. Just like Diddy and all the rest. It's gay, it's pedophilic, and you're letting your son lean into that brand. This is insanity. The whole draft process of everybody being well aware that this guy was showing up in interviews, being condescending, being aloof, trying to scare teams away. Deion, for a solid year, yeah, with my son, I'm gonna do it like Eli Manning and the Manning family, and we're gonna dictate where he goes. Deion put his son in harm's way and poisoned him with a mindset that undermined his mental evolution and development. And oh, I know this is hate, and Whitlock just hates Deion, and he's jealous, and this is just Whitlock, he can't stand black men. No, I'm trying to tell you, come up from out of that demonic cult that's destroying you. The statistics are overwhelming. This isn't a success cycle. This whole rap, prison culture, gay, pedophilia thing, it's not working. Who, with the brand of hip hop the way it is, who would allow their son, who has all these other options, even if his son never makes another dime, he should be financially secure based on Deion's success. If you had a son that was that financially secure, yeah, go ahead, son, build your brand around being a rapper. Present yourself as a rapper. Yeah, I know the whole rap industry looks gay. They all went to Diddy parties. They all had baby oil slathered all over themselves. Yeah, go ahead, you do that. And I'm the bad person. I'm the crazy person for pointing this out, for trying to tell the rest of y'all, don't do this to your kids. You're going to pay a price for this. Making your kids worship money and be down to do anything for money. That's a death sentence. That is death row. Deion damaged his boy. Never let him be coached and developed by anybody else. And you're wondering why NFL teams are reluctant? Like, the kid's only played in one offense, only played for one coach since Pee Wee. And they're like, well, what's going to happen when we try to coach him? Is he going to run to his daddy? Is his daddy going to use his platform to second guess and criticize us? This all falls on Deion. Quit worshiping Deion. If you remove the idolatry, the facts of what I'm saying are crystal clear and obvious. Deion Sanders, Suge Knight, riding shotgun as his son, NFL career spirals into the toilet. Dude made $6 million last year playing for Colorado. Now he's going to have to deal with fifth round money. How many millions of dollars did Deion just cost his son? Because it matters how you come in to the NFL, how your salary gets slotted. It starts a cycle. And now, again, there was only one team dumb enough, desperate enough to draft Shedeur. Everybody else was like, nah, I'm good. I don't need that circus. But the Browns, a circus. They invited another clown into the circus. How are y'all not seeing this? And I'm reading the chat and people are going off on me and Whitlock's a hater. Who's this? Julian Thornton, shut the F up, plain lies. What are lies? What lies am I telling? You've bought, oh, it was collusion, it was racism, a league that's dominated by black players, that's made more black male millionaires than anybody, a league that has a history of drafting players with big egos, handing them millions of dollars. They're all afraid of Shedeur and Dion because Dion's so smart and Dion's such a threat. Come out of the psychosis. Those of you shredding me, you're vaxxed and boosted. You fall for everything. Every hoax that the mainstream media is a hoax. And Julian, I guess I owe you an apology. They just texted me that you were actually talking to someone else and not Julian. I apologize. I want to get to the prank call heard around the world. This is their Hail Mary, the Hail Mary pass that's being thrown to salvage Shedeur's reputation and to get him back in good standing as a victim. It's people are begging for this Jax Ulbrich to be in prison, punished. His dad should be fired as an Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator, or whatever. Because this is the son of some Atlanta Falcons guy on their staff, and people want the Atlanta Falcons guy, this guy's dad, punished. The kid who went to school at Ole Miss issued an apology for prank calling Shedeur Sanders. Let me read the apology. On Friday night, I made a tremendous mistake. Shedeur, what I did was completely inexcusable, embarrassing, and shameful. I'm so sorry I took away from your moment. It was selfish and childish. I could never imagine getting ready to celebrate one of the greatest moments of your life, and I made a terrible mistake and messed with that moment. Thank you for accepting my call earlier today. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. and so there's been universal condemnation of this kid. And everybody wants him punished or his dad punished, and no one wants to look the other way. And no one has the perspective of, hey man, Howard Stern got famous and made millions of dollars with these types of prank calls. These types of prank calls have been commonplace as a part of the NFL draft over the last several years. It was never a big deal until it happened to Shedeur Sanders. Then all hell broke loose because it happened to Shedeur Sanders. It happened to Tupac Shedeur, and he's black and he's a victim. Last year, Dejon Cooper, I believe, the cornerback out of Iowa, he got the same kind of prank calls. This year, the tight end out of Penn State, I believe his name's TJ Warren, he got the same kind of prank calls. Several other players got the same prank calls this year. This has become commonplace. The reason why the NFL issues specific phones and phone numbers to these players is because this has become a problem, the prank calls. But when it happens to the white players, it's really no big deal, no harm, no foul. When it happens to Shedeur, it's crime of the century. The reason why Shedeur handled it so well, and he did handle it well, is because everybody in the NFL knows, hey, this happens. This is why we're giving you a special phone number. We don't want guys getting pranked anymore. We're giving you a special phone number. And so when it happened to Shedeur, he had already mentally prepared because the NFL had probably already told him, hey, this is kind of commonplace. We're having this problem. And so he just dealt with it and kept it moving. But social media and the media, ESPN's got it as a front page story on ESPN.com. Oh, the horror. Look what happened to Shedeur. And this kid's father, and I'm not defending the kid, I'm not defending the father. The father had nothing to do with it. The kid took advantage of it. Certainly the father wouldn't want to be involved in something like that, and everyone knows it, but this just isn't a big deal. It was a prank phone call. Kids have been making prank phone calls. I used to do it all the time. because this is how we used to entertain ourselves before we all had cell phones. We'd make prank calls. Howard Stern, I'm just telling you, him and his call, Baba Booey! And people just moved on from it. Where I'll give the kid and his idiot friend grief for, why would you release a videotape of yourself doing it? That, his dad needs to put this kid on serious punishment, reduce, eliminate his allowance for a long period of time. The dad needs to handle this. The NFL launching an investigation, the NFL trying to get to the bottom of this like it's the Zapruder film. Cut it out. Moving forward, FaceTime your draft picks. That will cut out the confusion. Not a hard fix. FaceTime the draft picks. Simple. All this, that this is somehow the worst thing to ever happen in the history of sports, and someone must be lynched or hanged, or someone must be fired because some kid pulled off a prank on Shedeur Sanders. It's a joke. Let me make, and I probably got two other points that I want to make, but let me try to squeeze them in here. The last one we'll do with a Tupac theme is trapped. And it's the Cleveland Browns. They're trapped by their own insanity and stupidity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. The Browns keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. They drafted Johnny Manziel with all his character issues, with all the flaws. They drafted Johnny Manziel. How'd that work out? Not well. They drafted Baker Mayfield with all of his character issues. They drafted him at the top of the draft. Did not work out. Didn't go well. It's great that Baker Mayfield has recovered and it seems to be on his way to a successful career in Tampa, but it did not work for the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns got even more desperate and gave Deshaun Watson $230 million guaranteed, despite all the allegations of sexual impropriety hanging over his head. All the massage therapists, they gave Deshaun Watson all that guaranteed money, signed him when he was basically untouchable, traded for him, signed, and gave him this incredible contract. This is a level of retardation that's unprecedented in sports. When you talk about the worst franchise in sports, the Haslams, they got to be the dumbest people in all of sports. You go from Manziel to Baker Mayfield to Deshaun Watson, and then you say, you know what? Enough is not enough. In the 5th round, after taking Dylan Gabriel, I believe in the 3rd round, they took a quarterback in the 3rd round, Dylan Gabriel. And then they said, you know what? We're going to take Shedeur in the 5th. We're going to invite the circus to our organization. You got Joe Flacco under contract. You have Dylan Gabriel. There's another veteran that they have and now you got Deshaun Watson. There's another veteran. Who's the other veteran? Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett. They pick up Kenny Pickett. And now you've invited Shedeur, and you brought that circus. And the circus took off immediately. Browns players started tweeting about the 5th round pick. Denzel Ward. Oh, Shedeur, it's time to be legendary. They started immediately talking about the 5th round. They got Flacco, they got Kenny Pickett, they got a quarterback, Dylan Brooks, they took in the 3rd round. And the black racial idolaters on the Browns team immediately go to tweeting about Shedeur Sanders. Tupac Shedeur is coming to our team. And boy, he's going to be legendary, and I can't wait. We'll all hit the strip club together. Your 5th round pick, Jimmy Haslam and the Browns. This has to be the dumbest franchise in the history of sports. Shedeur Sanders is trapped. And maybe it's a good trap, because if he fails in Cleveland, he'll again be able to blame, well, it's the Cleveland Browns. They're the dumbest organization in sports. They drafted a quarterback in the 3rd round and then immediately undermined him by drafting a circus act in the 5th round who distracted the team, and it created an instant QB controversy, an instant circus in Cleveland. This has to be the dumbest franchise in the history of sports. Donald Sterling, the former LA Clippers owner, is laughing at the Cleveland Browns. How many different times can they do this over and over and over again? How many circus acts do they have to have at quarterback? Incredible. Incredible. I want to end on this note, and then we'll bring on Steve Kim. Here's the, and Trap, take it off. Here's the conspiracy theory. I'm done with the Tupac analogy. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You're not going to get that anyplace else. And I know you hate me, but you're not going to get that anyplace else. Here's the one conspiracy theory that I'm willing to consider. And this is a far-fetched conspiracy theory. But if I were to go down the conspiracy lane, this is where I would do it. Deion Sanders plans to coach one more season in Colorado. That's why he put Shedeur, that's why he retired Shedeur's number. If he were planning to stick around, he would have been in no hurry to retire Shedeur's number. He'd have plenty of other opportunities to do that at a more appropriate time. But he's already plotting his exit. And so he retires Shedeur's number. And he thought, maybe I'll go to the NFL. But this process as it relates to Shedeur makes that far less likely. And so what I think may have been up Deion's sleeve that had to be thwarted was Deion was going to go into the sports representation industry. Shedeur goes off into the NFL. Deion is basically Shedeur's de facto agent. And then he was going to attract other players to let Deion represent him. Deion was going to, look what I did for Travis Hunter. Look what I did for Shedeur. Look what I did for Jimmy Horn. I'm the perfect guy to represent you, blah, blah, blah. And so it was going to be Deion doing what LeBron James and Maverick Carter have done in the NBA. They've disrupted the whole agency industry, sports representation. LeBron used his star power to disrupt basketball representation. And the NFL agents were not going to allow that kind of disruption in football. And so they had to, if anybody needed to put Deion and Shedeur in their place, it's sports agencies. And again, I just have to be real. Ari Emanuel, Mark Shapiro, there's a demographic that controls the sports representation business. That demographic likes to control black athletes and black entertainers. They weren't going to have a disruption of their control. They're not going to share their power with Deion Sanders and Shedeur. And so what did Shiloh Sanders do immediately after not getting drafted? Like, hey, I was leaning on my dad, but I'm signing with Drew Rosenhaus, and now I'm signing with Tampa Bay. Where did Shedeur go running to get into the NFL? I'm not saying that this is what happened. I'm not saying that. But if someone wanted to put together a theory a conspiracy theory that Deion represented a threat to the sports agency industry, the same way LeBron James and Rich Paul have. I could buy that. And people have really no understanding of how much control sports agents have over football and basketball, but they have immense control. They represent the coaches. They represent the general managers. They represent a lot of the players. And they get to determine who gets traded here and for what player will cooperate here and for what. They have immense control. And so if the sports agents wanted to say, hey, these coaches that we control, these executives that we control, stay away from Shedeur and Deion. We have to put this threat down. Deion wants to do some things in the sports agency lane that we got to put a stop to. That could happen. Anytime, and I want to move demographics out of it because it's really not, it's a control issue. Anytime you want to be disruptive in any industry, there's going to be resistance, major resistance. And anytime you're as foolish and as full of yourself as Shedeur Sanders is, and anytime you just pose that kind of a threat, you're going to run into some headwinds regardless of what color you are. So that's the one conspiracy theory that I would entertain if someone wanted to make that suggestion. Other than that, this whole thing is just another hoax, another race hoax that we've been subjected to from ESPN and the mainstream media that is here to divide us racially. No one at ESPN has the balls to stand up to what it is they're doing and the idiots that get employed and get placed into these positions to promote. And they're all answering to the same agents. They all, there's this whole media thing, this whole sports thing. They're all controlled. And that's why they hate me. That's why they hate those of us with a biblical worldview. That's why they hate those of us that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, and I'm going to deal with the consequences of everybody who hates me and us for having a biblical worldview. Make sure you're hitting like, subscribe. Make sure you're telling your friends about this show. There is a conversation that we have on this show, an explanation of what's going on in the sports world. You can't get anyplace else. I need you to help me protect this space. Go to fearlessmission.com, fearlessmission.com, become a subscriber. That's the best thing you can do to support me and what we're doing. It's the best thing you can do. Become a subscriber. Fearlessmission.com. Use the promo code FEARLESS. Get $20 off your subscription. Need you to do that. Don't go anywhere. Steve Kim, next.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. There's something bad going on with American men. It's been obvious for a while. It's measurable in a million different ways, but it's also right in front of your face. For that reason, I'm joining Jason on Friday, May 2nd in Nashville for the Roll Call 3.0 conference, and I hope to see you there.
Join us at Fearless Roll Call 3.0. Real men, real conversations, real purpose. Tickets at fearlessrollcall.com.
I've struggled with my health and weight loss most of my life, feeling sore, low energy, and having a hard time staying mentally sharp. But Relief Factor it's changed all of that. I feel better, I move better, I think better. It's been a real transformation. And here's the thing, it's only $20 to try. If Relief Factor works for me, and I'm no easy case, it can work for anyone. Don't wait, call 1-800-4RELIEF or visit relieffactor.com.
Yeah, 모두 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Reason that I'm back is to feed you raps I see that you are 배불러 So fly
All right, welcome back. Steve, I just want to get right to it. Did Shedeur Sanders or Tupac Shedeur, did he drop? His camera something's going on with Steve's camera. Should I delay or can I ask Steve this question? Steve, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Perfect. So we can just ask the question and we'll get the camera fixed as we can. Steve, did racism cause Shedeur Sanders, Tupac Shedeur, to drop in the draft?
No, I think the process that they went under, I mean, Jason, I think the reality is this. A lot of the pundits, they kind of remind me of Ann Seltzer. Remember her, the pollster who told everyone Iowa is swinging to Kamala Harris? Right? I mean, literally. Yeah. And it turned out that was never going to be the case. And so he symbolized a lot of what we know about these pollsters, that you can't trust them, that they themselves either get bad information or they have an agenda. The other part is the way Mel Kiper acted. It reminds me of this other guy by the name of Alan Lichtman, who swore up and down he has these data points, and they all point to a Kamala Harris landslide victory. And then even after the election, he swore up and down, no, I was correct. Everyone else was wrong. And like he doubled down on it, and I almost respect it. He actually was the most entertaining part of this whole discussion, in my view. So that's the way it looks. And here's the issue. And the thing that I want to be made clear, you can act like Eli Manning and his family, John and Jack Elway, when you have the leverage. When you are the clear-cut #1 player in the draft, you can do whatever you feel. When you are basically a guy that is a third-round draft choice in reality, you better go through this process much differently than you did the past 3-4 months.
So you made analogies that are great, and I compared it more to the 2016 election with Hillary Clinton. Do you remember Nate Silver? Like yes. In 2013-14, ESPN gives him this huge contract. 538 is the hottest thing going. And then in 2016, when Trump won, it's like, oh, they put a clown suit on Nate Silver. And I don't dislike Nate Silver. He always treated me well. But his polling was off. He got embarrassed. And 538's never been the same. And that, it's like the whole Hillary Clinton phenomenon all over again. They went into a level of election denial and you know, that it was sexism, it was racism, America's racist. It's all that over again. The legacy media refuses to acknowledge when it gets something wrong, no matter how obvious it is. And that's what I saw from Mel Kiper and virtually all, from NFL Network to ESPN. No one wanted to admit that, like, hey, man, we blew our evaluation of Shedeur Sanders, and we participated in misleading the public about this guy's value.
There's no doubt about it. And Jason, here's the thing that struck me as I'm watching this draft. After 9, which I thought was really a reach, I even saw mock drafts that had Jackson Dart in the top 10, and I said, you know, I don't even know if Jackson Dart's better than Shedeur. I really don't. I think that he is a big risk, okay? But soon as he left on the board at 21, I said, all right, Cleveland's ultimately going to get him early in the second. Jason, when those two Browns draft choices got past him, I said, uh-oh, we're in trouble. So this is what I noticed, Jason. When ESPN or NFL Network would throw up a graphic, next 5 teams in line, I kept thinking to myself, okay, there are 3 or 4 different levels of teams. Number one, there's teams that Deion Sanders himself said, I will not allow my son to play for. So they're off the board. Number 2, Jason, it's come out with some very reputable sources. There are teams that had Shedeur Sanders off their board completely. They were never going to draft him. Number 3, there are teams that just selected a high-profile quarterback either in this draft or the last one. So obviously teams like Tennessee and then the Giants were not going to be in this sweepstakes. And then obviously teams that had Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake May, they were never going to be in this sweepstakes. And then number 4, there were organizations who are looking ahead to a much deeper quarterback class next year. And I didn't realize this, Jason. Most teams, if they don't draft you in the first round, they're looking for developmental quarterbacks, which means they want to go in rounds 4 and 5 to get guys that they believe can be backups. Now, what do we say about backups, Jason? They're there to be there, but not to be seen and heard.
Steve, I'm going to give you another analogy. What you're describing as it relates to the media, it's all this information about Shedeur, how he handled the process, Deion's behavior, I won't play for this team, that team. The untold stories that I'm sure will maybe come out over time about Deion's behavior and phone calls he may have been making and I go back to the scout that came there for the pro day and Deion got in his face and corrected this or that. But all of that I would put under the umbrella of bad reporting, information that the media knew and chose not to report and share. So Shedeur's pre-draft conduct and Deion's pre-draft conduct, it was the Hunter Biden laptop. It's like we knew it was out there, but we're not allowed to talk about it. It's a hoax. It's not true. Anything on that laptop is misinformation. It's Russian misinformation. And then we come to find, well, it's all true. And now after the election, we can report and talk about it. That's what we saw. The media failed to do its job because they're so afraid of Deion, so afraid to be called racist, they wouldn't report what they actually knew about Shedeur's pre-draft behavior and how it was going to impact his draft status.
You know, to add upon that analogy, to be a high first-round draft choice, and maybe really at quarterback the most, it is like a campaign. You have to go out there and shake hands, kiss babies. You got to make campaign rally stops. Well, okay, so let's take a look at this particular player. Didn't participate in the combine, didn't really throw, turned down interviews, and then also, it turns out, specifically with Brian Dable of the New York Giants, he had terrible interviews. So my God, this is Kamala Harris. I mean, think about it. All the comparisons are there. He failed onto the big stage. And then when they slid, people kept making excuses. And I think this has to be pointed out. People can use the word collusion. I'll go back to this. I believe it is a consensus. I still remember a couple years ago, and this is not a quarterback, but this is the broader point I want to make. Jalen Carter got into an incident where someone died. Okay, he was part of that race car team at the University of Georgia. And there were a lot of question marks about him. But you know what? Jalen Carter was graded so highly, and it looks like he's headed to the Hall of Fame. They gave him grace. Your leverage is your ability to produce and your overall talent. I think Sanders can make a roster, but again, are we talking about an Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, Trevor Lawrence graded prospect? No, we are not. And that is the reality that no one wants to face.
Steve, I love these analogies we're coming up with. Yeah. And I know you're short on time, but I got one more analogy for you. You just took the Kamala Harris comparison. And Shedeur fits right in with that in terms of they used a bunch of rappers to build a buzz around Shedeur Sanders. No different than Megan Thee Stallion coming to perform for Kamala Harris. Beyonce coming to perform. All these celebrities, these black influencers to build up Kamala Harris. Deion, the exact same thing, inviting all the rappers into the locker room, all the rappers vouching for him, standing on the sidelines. It's the exact same process. It's a fraudulent candidate that we're going to surround with all these popular people to make you all believe that he's some incredible icon, can't miss brand. It's the exact same thing, and the football experts called BS on it the same way voters called BS on Kamala Harris.
Jason, if you go and look at what most of the mainstream media was saying, there's no doubt about it that Deion's past employees or fellow co-workers, they clouded the picture. That if you work with Deion at NFL Network or some of these other platforms, you probably like Deion, you may have been a fan of his, and you didn't want to get in the crosshairs of social media. And then you had to cover for him. Because I find this fascinating that somehow that Cam Ward is he's like not as black as Shedeur now because he was taken #1. He's the establishment quarterback. It's almost like this whole Ollie Frazier thing that was going on. And there was no doubt that if you were going to speak honestly about Shedeur and tell some very inconvenient truth, you were not going to be part of the in crew. You're not going to be part of the barbecue. You weren't going to get the invite. And it's interesting because anyone that spoke out against it now is feeling the heat, but I think ultimately they were vindicated. You know, I saw someone on CBS Sports, I think his name is Damian Harris, who played at Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, had an NFL career. He actually said, and again, he was a former player that went through the process. He said, is it about his play on tape or was it about everything else, like the interviews and stuff? And I'm thinking, Damian, it's about everything. Every single NFL draft choice has to go through this process. And if you throw up red flags left and right like it's Flag Day, what do you think is going to happen to you? And Jason, I thought the most memorable scene of the whole draft coverage was the Cincinnati Bengals draft room. They looked like they were hostages. And they had guns pointed at them saying, okay, in 3 seconds here, we are all going to applaud.
Cleveland, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, the Cleveland
I think
draft.
you said Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati got lucky. They have a quarterback. But when the Browns draft room had that look on their face and they're kind of giving this really limp-wristed golf clap, that had Jimmy Haslam written all over him. And Jason, I'm just telling you, for the love of God, if there is justice and they care about us, we need NFL Hard Knocks, Cleveland Browns 2025.
Steve, I'm going to give you the final thought, let you get out of here. Another big part of my argument is that they made the media and all the Deion groupies, they made Shedeur toxic. They undermined Shedeur's draft. All the defenders, all the it's collusion, it's racism. Stephen A. Smith, Josina Anderson, all of these, they made Shedeur toxic. They turned him into a circus that NFL ownership, NFL executives, NFL coaches are like, I don't want that toxic circus anywhere near me. It's actually the defenders of Shedeur Sanders that made him hard to draft early.
Jason, I don't understand this. First of all, as a private business, you have the right to hire whoever you want, and in this case, draft whoever you want. This whole notion that somehow there's collusion, well, Cleveland ended up drafting him, so did the collusion just suddenly end? You'll never get past that. Also, the other thing is, Jason, and you've been in a position of hiring people, and this goes for any walk of life. It's not just about your talent or ability to do the job at a high level. Then you have to look at cultural fit and personalities. And you have to ask yourself, will this guy get along with others? Will this guy be a distraction? Will he be punctual? Will he be respectful? Does he have other ancillary issues that are going to get in the way of our vision and our movement? Obviously, the answer is he brought about a lot of baggage, more baggage than LAX. And I just find it interesting to wrap it up here. Stephen A. Smith puts out that tweet you talked about there may have been collusion, and just suddenly anonymous sources are okay. Is that same guy, Kyle Brandt, going to complain? Well, that's an anonymous source. Well, let's name him now. Let's name him all of a sudden. So this is going, but you know what, Jason? I will give them credit, though. Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns coming into training camp, whether we like it or not, and I kind of like it, they're the most fascinating story coming into late July.
Steve, I'm going to let you go. Thank you. Great job as always. We'll see you tomorrow. I do want to remind you all to make sure you're going to fearlessrollcall.com. Use the promo code 997. You can get half off of any VIP ticket that we still have available. You can get half off of your tickets to the Saturday event and the Saturday night event. Once you're here in Nashville, part of everything that I'm explaining is about this racism hoax plot that they're using to divide us. Be a part of the solution. Come join me, Tucker Carlson, Randy Hauser, Pastor Corey Brooks, Pastor Doug Wilson, Pastor Alan Jackson. Promo code 997 for those of you that haven't got your tickets yet. Can't wait to see you here in Nashville. For those of you all that want to hear some additional content, I want you right now, in 10 minutes, I'll be live on the Harmony channel. We'll discuss on the Harmony channel Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend and the interview they did on CBS this weekend. Also, Jay Skap Attack's going to join me over there. We'll discuss LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers falling down 3-1 in that series. We'll be there at, can we put that up? Yeah, it's up there now. Jason Whitlock, at Jason Whitlock Harmony on youtube.com/@JasonWhitlockHarmony. We'll see you over there where we'll continue the discussion. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow here. Go over 10 minutes. I'll be on the Harmony channel.
Waiting for the countdown, coming out the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be,